Furthering their offerings for the keyboard enthusiast, Razer's latest keyboard, the BlackWidow V3 Mini, might be one of my favorites from the triple-headed snake so far. After switching to the Drop Alt last year, I've been in love with 65% layout keyboards, and Razer's new board packs the slim yet functional layout and adds their HyperSpeed Wireless for even more convenience and a price tag of $180. So let's dive in and take a closer look at the Razer BlackWidow V3 Mini. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Toys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Hey everyone, I'm Jordan with 9 to 5 Toys, and let's dive in and take a look at the overall design of the BlackWidow V3 Mini. As a 65% layout keyboard, the BlackWidow V3 Mini has most of the functionality for navigation, but keeps it in a much smaller package. I'm a huge fan of the 65% layout since they include arrow keys, which I frequently use when editing video and navigating scripts, but are still small enough to give my right hand plenty of room for big sweeps when I'm playing FPS games. Looking at the right side of the board, you can see there are dedicated keys for delete, page up, page down, insert, and those all important for me arrow keys. And overall, Razer has kept the design of the BlackWidow V3 Mini pretty simple and sharp. While the sides are bare, the front of the board has a three-way switch for off, 2.4 GHz wireless or Bluetooth, and the USB-C port for charging or connecting to a device. On bottom, we do have the adjustable risers that get a better angle for typing, as well as a compartment to hold the 2.4 GHz HyperSpeed Wireless dongle. And while the 65% layout means you don't have any media keys or F keys, those are all accessible through secondary function commands. So you can see there is the function button, and then printed on the sides of the keycaps are what those secondary functions are. So it's really easy to find different controls for like F1, F2 for playing and pausing and skipping tracks, and all the other kind of secondary functions that you would be able to find on a full-size keyboard. And one thing that I love on the BlackWidow V3 Mini over Razer's other small keyboard, the Huntsman Mini, which is a 60% layout, is that the BlackWidow V3 Mini is quite a bit heavier and just feels much more substantial. The BlackWidow V3 Mini comes in at 720 grams, while I believe the Razer Huntsman Mini is more around 450. So quite a bit more weight on the battery-powered BlackWidow V3 Mini. And of course, weight doesn't necessarily, equate to build quality, but it does feel a little bit more confidence-inspiring for me when it is sitting on my desk as a gaming keyboard, and I don't feel like it's going to move around very much. And continuing a comparison with the Razer Huntsman Mini for a little bit, while the Razer Huntsman Mini does have optical switches instead of the mechanical switches on the BlackWidow V3 Mini, you can hear that the rattling is a little bit better on the BlackWidow than it is on the Huntsman Mini. So first off, I'm just going to shake the Razer Huntsman Mini a little bit so you can hear some of that rattle, which just doesn't feel great. It doesn't sound great. And then we're going to shake the BlackWidow V3 Mini. And so while it is better, there is still some rattle there. And obviously, I mean, that's not like, a game killer or anything like that, but it would be nice to have a little bit better stability in there, like some of the competitors. For example, here's a board from HyperX. This is their Alloy Origin 60, and it just doesn't make a sound as you move it. And so it's just a really nice, really great sounding, great feeling keyboard. And it'd be nice to see something a little bit more like that from Razer, but it doesn't necessarily affect the performance. But something like this, the Alloy Origin 60, just feels a little bit more premium, a little bit better quality. And my only other complaint with the BlackWidow V3 Mini, I think the design is great. It's simple. It's not too gamery. Of course, you do have across the bottom here, there is this little angled front piece. It does have the Razer logo there in the middle, which shines up with RGB. My only complaint is that picks up fingerprints really easily. And not only just the glossy kind of logo cover there, but also just this angled piece down here is really susceptible to picking up, greasy fingerprints, which, in my opinion, just, this makes it a little bit harder to clean, and it'd be nice if that was a different type of material, or if it was, a little more cut off like the Razer Huntsman Mini here. Obviously, that's a design that they have on the BlackWidow V3 Pro as well, so I understand why they did that. But on the V3 Pro, the little Razer logo is more of a textured material, so it doesn't show fingerprints quite as well. And so, yeah, I do think that the BlackWidow V3 Mini is a little bit more susceptible to fingerprints. And moving on to one of the main features on here, this keyboard is wireless. So it has three different types of connections. You can either plug it in via USB-C, you can turn it on to that HyperSpeed Wireless 2.4 gigahertz, or you can switch it over to Bluetooth and connect to a device that way. So obviously for gaming, either the USB-C connection or 2.4 gigahertz HyperSpeed Wireless is going to be your best, but obviously having that Bluetooth connectivity just makes it a lot more versatile if you're mobile and just want to connect it to a laptop or some other device for some, quick, easy, convenient typing. HyperSpeed Wireless, some people might be a little bit skeptical about wireless connection for gaming on a keyboard, but I do think that Razer's kind of set a great precedent with HyperSpeed Wireless on their gaming mice, like the Razer Viper Ultimate. That's one of the most well-known, and it's a very well-regarded gaming mouse that is wireless. And so that same technology on the keyboard, in my experience, feels great. You don't really notice any lag or any latency when compared to a wired connection. So both typing and gaming both feel just as fast, just as responsive on the BlackWidow V3 Mini as they would on a wired device. And while it's wireless, the BlackWidow V3 Mini can get up to 200 hours of battery life. And that is going to depend heavily on how bright you have the RGB set. So if you have it turned all the way up, I think it's going to be quite a bit lower than that. And even if you have to plug it in every day or two, that's not that big of a deal for me. I just keep a USB-C cable tucked up near my monitor, and then I can quickly plug it in if Synapse gives me the prompt that the battery's getting low. Another great thing about this new wireless connection is that Razer has actually made it so you can connect two devices with one wireless dongle, and that can be one keyboard and one mouse. So there are obviously compatible keyboards, some of their newer ones and some of their newer mice are compatible, like the BlackWidow line, the V3 Pro and the V3 Mini. And then also the new Razer Orachi V2, and that's just nice to have one dongle for two devices so you don't need to clutter up your USB ports more than you need to. The BlackWidow V3 Mini can record macro commands on the fly with those accessible through the M1 through 4 keys on the right side of the board, and also can store up to 5 profiles locally if you don't want to connect it to Synapse. And moving on to switches, Razer is giving 2 options for the BlackWidow V3 Mini. We have Razer's iconic green clicky, and then we also have their yellow linear. The board that we have here has the yellow linear switches, and while I'm typically not the biggest fan of linear, I tried the green clicky switches on the V3 Pro and wanted to try the linear switches and see how they perform. They're pretty light with a 45 gram actuation force, a smaller 3.5mm total travel distance compared to a standard Cherry MX switch, and also has a much shorter 1.2mm actuation point than the more standard 2mm actuation point on like a Cherry MX. For me personally, I'm still not totally on Team Linear. I really enjoy tactile switches, but that being said, these do feel plenty smooth, and in my experience, they actually perform really well. I like that they aren't too loud, and like I said, that movement feels very smooth, but I still accidentally hit extra keys all the time when resting my hands and gaming. Maybe I just need to get used to linear switches more or use a heavier switch, but currently I'm very happy with the tactile switches in my drop alt. And here we'll do a quick sound test. So for gaming, I mean, these switches do feel really fast. Like I said, I accidentally hit a lot of keys just because I'm not used to linear, and especially with that shorter actuation, it's a lot easier to actuate different keys. But like I've said in the beginning, having a smaller keyboard for gaming is definitely one of my favorite ways to game. And having the 65% layout with those arrow keys does make this more of a daily driver for both work and play. So overall, I think that Razer's delivered a really great product with the BlackWidow V3 Mini. I absolutely love that smaller form factor, and having HyperSpeed Wireless makes it even more discreet sitting at my desk or battle station. If you're a budding keyboard enthusiast who wants to, build your own or tinker a little bit, then there are some other great options from like the Drop Alt or something like the glorious PC Gaming Race GMMK Pro. That one actually has a little bit bigger layout, which has some more functionality built into it, but still in a kind of smaller side-to-side package. So those could be some fun options if you want to tinker with your devices, but obviously those aren't wireless like the BlackWidow V3 Mini, and so there's some, great features and functionality built into this keyboard. So overall, I really think Razer has put together a great product with the BlackWidow V3 Mini for $180. And that'll do it for our review of the Razer BlackWidow V3 Mini. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.